Okay. Hi, everyone. I'll use this for now. We'll try and do some voice demos with this later. My name is Paul. I lead the agent development team at Sierra. We're the team that works very closely with our customers to build these agents. And we work on the machine that builds the machine, I like to say. So we build a lot of the tools that we use to build these agents with our customers, and that our customers use to build agents. I was thinking a bit about what would be useful for this crowd. I assumed, lots of engineers, founders, maybe people building agents in different spaces. And so I'll tell you a bit about Sierra. I'll tell you a bit, maybe from the field of what we found is hard about building agents today, and I think where value is if you're building agents for different verticals. And then I'll show you a little bit of the tooling that we've built. Maybe starting off on how we're even thinking about agents. I know everyone these days is talking about it. It's an ill-defined term. But the way we're thinking about it is that essentially every time you've had a big tech shift, the way consumers interacted with businesses has fundamentally changed. Early on with the web, it's almost impossible today to think of any business that doesn't have some sort of web presence and has a good website. It's almost impossible today to think of any global brand that doesn't have a social presence and a strategy around that. And then more and more the expectation is that a strong mobile app is just what you expect, right? And the companies that have done this well have benefited from it. If you think of Starbucks today, is a beloved brand for its coffee, but also their mobile app is actually something that I'm sure a lot of you actually have installed on your phone. And so we think of these agents ultimately as a new way of customers engaging with these brands. And we're very focused on customer support and customer experience to start. But I don't think that is where it will end. I think 5 years from now, companies will invest as much in their AI agent, their AI representation of their brand, as they are today in their mobile app and in their website. And so the tooling that we're building is geared around that. It is that a few years from now, you'll probably have many people contribute to that agent. There will probably be new types of roles that will emerge. You'll have developers that will develop the agent, but you'll have other roles. We talked a bit earlier about emotion, and you'll have roles that care about the voice of the agent and the brand and the tone, and does it reflect your brand, etc. And then this is no secret. It's been a crazy time. We kind of come up with new benchmarks just to see them get to saturation, and then we come up with a new benchmark again, and let's see when humanity's last exam is near 100. And at the same time, inference is getting cheaper, right, which has benefited all of us. It's a great time to build software because you literally have ungodly sums of capital going into making these things better for all of us that are building applications. And if you think about an agent today, I like this iceberg slide. I think a lot of the industry thinks it's these three things, right? You take a model from one of the frontier labs, you attach some sort of RAG database to it. There are many off the shelf now. And then you expose some sort of functions to it, and you call it a day. That is great if you're putting together, a demo of a weekend, and you get your boss excited, and they're like, "Yes, let's fund this." What you find out once you start working on this is that there's a lot under the iceberg, and so that's what we focus all of our time and effort on. Is that we want to, deal with a lot of the things, and I'll name a few below the iceberg so that our customers don't have to. What that means is, there is things around the agent orchestration. There's, if you want to put this agent on multiple channels across chat and voice and email, there's just boring things like integrating with telephony systems that were built in the 80s. You need to give observability into what the agent is doing. You obviously need to have really strong guardrails, right? It's different when you have a demo that you can demo once versus, let's say you have an agent that is deployed, to a global consumer brand and is having millions of conversations a month. And And then there's many, many other things, sampling, QA, running experiments, dealing with the knowledge base that is very large and ever-changing. And as you get to scale, Sierra has hundreds of millions of conversations a year now. You need to think about redundancy and all the things there. I like to joke that LLMs these days should be measured in 8s, not 9s, because they go down all the time. And so how we are thinking about building agents is, we call it the agent development lifecycle. It's modeled after the software development lifecycle. Really, if you think about building software in this age, is that if you think about traditional software, it's fast. Compute has gotten pretty good. It's essentially free. Like, you can literally spin up a Cloudflare worker for free and run stuff. And it's very cheap, right? Because it's like cloud infrastructure, hyperscalers, etc. If you think about LLMs, they tend to be kind of slow. They tend to be kind of expensive. And they are also non-deterministic on top, right? And so, like, everything that you now build, you need to kind of take into account and map. And so we think about it in a circle where you build something, and I'll show you some of the tools that we have to building agents. We then really care a lot about simulations. Since these models are non-deterministic, you really need to make sure that they actually work. You're not regressing. And you can reliably deploy changes. You need to manage releases. So, if you deploy a change and it goes badly, can you actually roll back reliably in a way that is, exactly the way it was before, which is a gnarly problem in and of itself. A lot of people talk about eval. You obviously need to eval before you go live, and you need to eval models, but you also need to evaluate whether the agent is doing at scale what you expect it to do. You can't just sit there and read 3 conversations and call it a day. The agent is having millions of conversations, and so how do you guarantee that it's actually doing what it's supposed to do? And then we build a lot of tools to optimize these things over time, right? And you kind of go in a loop. And we really think that, like, over time, the broader ecosystem will develop, companies in each of these spaces. There will be open source tools, and of course, we are very invested in building great tools for our customers in all these areas. On the building side, I'll show you this live in a second. We think a lot about the tooling that gives visibility into what the agent is doing. And so we think a lot about traces and exposing kind of latency. When you're building voice agents, latency is one of the things that you'll care most about. And so I'll show you this live, but we essentially expose all the things that an agent is doing, all the various things that we run in parallel, the decisions that are made, why they're made, et cetera, to our customers. We also care a lot about simulations. And I thought it would be cool to share a bit about Taubench. Taubench, there's a little squared because we're on V2. Once we move to V3, it's going to be like Taubench cubed. Taubench is something that we open sourced. It's essentially a benchmarking suite to build reliable simulations for agents. Taubench 1 had a single-player environment where essentially you would have an agent and another model that would interact with this agent, and ultimately you would compare some database hashes to see whether the agent did the right thing. So we have this for flights, we have a Taubench for retail, we have one for telecom. And if you go to some of the latest model releases, Claude or OpenAI, you'll see kind of Taubench results. It's kind of become the agentic benchmark to evaluate some of these models. Taubench 2 is really interesting, and I'd love for you to check it out. It's on GitHub. You can download it. It's open source. And it is a 2-player environment. So it has an agent that simulates a user in different ways. Sometimes confused, sometimes frustrated, sometimes just adversarial, and then it simulates the agent as well. And so it allows you to actually model much more realistic dynamics that will happen in the real world. And we built this on top of that. I'll try and do this and see if that works. True demo fashion. Make it a bit hacky.
how can I help you today?
The internet keeps dropping every few minutes. The router's got a red light.
Okay, let's try to fix this together. First, is the red light on the modem steady or blinking?
想问一下 MRI 有没有保？会员号是 ZX4 开头的，用的是 PPO 计划。
您的保险涵盖 MRI， 门诊自付额为40元。
I just landed at SFO and I've been waiting an hour for my bag.
I'm sorry this has been stressful. Let's get this resolved. Can I have your last name and the baggage tag number?
I'm taking my ID out. Hold on. It's SD and then 3782.
Got it. Just to confirm, it's SD3782?
That did it. Thanks for actually helping.
My pleasure. Let me know if you need anything else. I'm here to...
And so some of what you're hearing there, first of all, both voices are AI. When you think about simulating the real world, you need to simulate the actual conditions in the real world. And so we essentially, in our simulation suite, built on TauBench, but a lot of stuff on top, now have AI voices that simulate different environments, different tones, different, like you heard, the airport guy is like kind of angry and like yelling. And then we simulate background noise, we simulate pacing to essentially try and, before you ever put that agent live, know how it's going to perform with like reasonable amount of confidence. And a lot of work has gone into that. And I think as you think about building agents in the real world, thinking through, how you can make your environment as realistic as possible is like critical to ultimately being able to ship and improve these agents. Interestingly, for example, on the voice side, it tends to be trivial to do things like, for example, a retail, you want to return an order, enter an order number. No one will, get that order number wrong, or if they do, they can just spell it correctly. If you have the airport noise and you're yelling, etc., it becomes a lot harder problem to do transcription correctly, and you need to design your agent, for example, to be like much more fault tolerant around those things. Cool. I thought I would do a very quick demo, so let's do that. Cool. And similarly, I can't give away all our secrets, so I'll keep this window somewhat small. But I thought I would show a bit of our development experience just so you get a sense. So we call this our dev chat. You can talk to the agent here. And I'll actually turn on some of our logging so we can have a conversation. So let's start on chat, and maybe we say, I'll just redo my conversation from before. We're asking about returning an order here. This is a little retail agent. Let me just turn off the logging for now. And we go, it is Pol at Sierra. AI. And I'll turn on, as we're interacting with the agent here, our dev logs. So you see that in the traces, we, at every point in time show, for example, what the agent decided on. Here, for example, we know we decided to return an order, and we try and give observability essentially to every step in the agent, which ultimately, as a developer, you want to be able to debug and let customers know what decisions the agent is making. And so we are getting an email here, and then we also want an order number. I think I have this saved somewhere. It's this. And again, over the phone, this was a harder challenge. You'll see here in our reasoning traces as well that the decisions the agent is making. So we looked up an order, we got some responses back, and then this is a very cowboy-themed agent. So we have some stuff that we're rendering and returning. The exact same agent works over the phone. So if we clear this and we switch to audio, we can start talking to that agent, and maybe I do one of those.
Hey there, adventurer. I'm Pinecone, the Sierra Outfitters virtual assistant. What can I do for you?
Hello. Can you help me find my order? Oh, actually, I want to return it.
Absolutely, I can help you with your return. First, I'll need your email address and your order number to get started. Could you share those with me?
And so you can see it's the same agent, but now as you're doing it over the phone, you see like some of the transcription things, etc. That ultimately, when you're building agents that need to be low latency, helps you debug. And so we could talk and continue with the same agent here over the phone.
Just checking in. Are
We
you
also
still
have
working on
some
this adventure?
check-ins.
Let me know if you need any more help heading into the unknown.
I love this agent. It's really fun. Cool. Well, thanks everyone. Happy to answer any questions later.